everyone. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the leaves, more specifically the annual leave, especially regarding the leave return. What happens, for example, when an employee returns back from a leave later than expected, or, for example, when a person or an employee returns back earlier than expected. So there are several cases where employees could get to work, get back to work earlier or later than expected. It's very different, and each one of them contains many cases that should be taken into consideration. And here in Hinawi software, ERP, we have covered all these cases in order for the company or the business in which the employee is working at can feel very happy that everything is taken into consideration, and he or she will definitely feel comfortable in the actions that should be taken in the company. So to begin with, we first start with creating a leave. Afterwards, we have several transactions and actions, such as, for example, editing the leave, voiding, deleting, approving. We can even void or delete after approval. We also have the print clearance form. Extending the leave is also possible. And finally, which is the core for today's topic, is the leave return. I'm going to talk about this in many more details. We can also delete the leave return in special cases, but I'm going to focus on leave return itself. This can be used by the admin. It can be used by the HR officer or HR manager. It can be used by the person in charge, the person who has the permissions to do this action. Let's start with creating a leave. And by the way, I'm logged in from the admin account just in case to get the maximum permissions possible and to show you everything, all the single details. This is the leave application. Let's, for example, choose this company. As you can see here, there is more than one company integrated and connected within the same software. So I'm going to choose this company, and then let's take this employee. Afterwards, I'm going to choose the type of leave. Let's say I want the annual leave. And then it says here that annual leave already exists for this employee and the status is approved. So basically, what it says here is that Hinawi software allows users and allows employees to have warning messages instead of just going through the steps without noticing anything. So it just gives you a notice here. It gives you a note that you cannot create another leave when there is a previous leave that is approved. And of course, all of this is displayed in the settings. I'm going to show you later on in this video that the settings play a huge role in this, actually, because in the settings you provide the system with the workflow or the process that applies to the company's policies. So in this case, we have to complete the process first or create another type of leave. But I want to choose another employee, let's say this person, and annual leave. Here it gives us that the service period of this employee is 3.3 years, and the leave balance for this specific type of leave that has been selected is 99. Of course, it reads from the setup regarding the leave, which is done as the first step. So basically, the settings is the core of the system, which must be applied and must be selected and specified before we move on to the creating, approving, and so on with the leave. So I selected the annual leave. It reads from the settings, this balance, and let's say, for example, I want 50. I want to take 50 days. And then it gives us the leave return date. So basically, the system automatically calculates that this is the leave return date. And here we have 3 different types of payments. So basically you can either pay through the salary sheet, so the salary sheet will cover the payment there, or we can pay now, or we can select the update leave ledger. Basically what it says here is that updating the leave ledger mainly focuses on the report itself, like as a number, as an information that the employee has took this leave without deducting anything from the balance, without deducting an amount, without deducting any amount. So basically updating the leave ledger does not deduct any amount, it's just there as a number. Let's say for example I want leave pay through salary sheet, because I do not want to update the days only, I want to consider the amount as well. So I chose the payment through the salary sheet. And by the way, let's specify here the reason. And also, as you can see here in the leave salary calculation, the salary item is basic salary, and the leave salary is this is the pension, this is the net to pay, the actual salary, and the payment percentage, which is 100%, which reads from the settings as well. And the total leave salary is the following. Okay, let's say that we save and close, and we specify the reference number. And there you go. The leave application is successfully saved. Now afterwards, the second step is approval. Notice here that the user which will be creating the leave might not be the same person who will be approving the leave. It all depends on the user access list which is permitted for the user. So let's say I want to approve the leave now, and let's select the company which we created the employee in, which is employee number 53. And let's go here and approve that, and now it's successfully approved. Afterwards, let's go to leave return, which will be the main focus for today's video. Leave return. Let's say I do not want to proceed further with deleting or extending the leave. I just want to leave return for the employee. Let's go here and press view, and this is our employee number 53. And let's select. Notice here the start work date, the reference number, the application date, the leave type, how many days, the reason, the start date and the end date, payment mode. Everything is selected from here and applied and successfully displayed. Now after pressing leave return, the leave return window appears for us. As you can see here in this window, we can see the personal details, such as for example his department, the position, nationality, the total salary and the status, and the last salary sheet that has been created. And from here we can see the leave details, and this is the main tab which we will focus on. So it says here that the expected return date is the following. But what if, for example, I want to change that expected date, and let's say the actual return date was on, for example, let's say this date. Okay, let's see. Now afterwards, the difference in days is -6. Notice here that the number is displayed in negative. This is because there are 6 days earlier. The employee has returned 6 days earlier than expected. And let's say here in the notes that earlier than expected. Now from here we have to adjust the difference days. What shall we do since this employee has returned 6 days earlier? Notice here that we have the adjust leave days on as create loan, and the leave amount is the following. You might think that this is fixed, but I'm going to show you in this video, I'm going to show you the settings which displays this window. So basically this window reads from the settings, and the settings, the current settings is basically creating loan for employees who return earlier than expected. Okay, I'll show you how we can change that later on, but let's proceed forwards with this scenario. Here we can choose the number of installments, the amount, and when does the repayment start from. Okay, now let's see another scenario where the employee returns later than expected. Let's say, for example, instead of this date, the employee returns on this date, the 4th of August. So basically, the difference in days now is 19 days. So basically 19 days as positive number instead of negative number, because now he or she returned later than expected. And in the notes, let's say late than expected. Now we have several adjustment modes, like do we want to adjust this as leaves or as balance? How do we allow or make this employee pay for the price that he has been late? Let's say leave, for example. When selecting the leave as the adjust on leaves, notice here that the adjust on absence is grayed out. You cannot fill this because we do not want to adjust it as an absence. We want to adjust it as leave. And then we select the leave type. Do we want to consider this days, like these extra days, difference in days? Do we want to consider them as annual leave or any other type of leave? Let's say we want to consider them as annual leave. And also we can select here several payment modes. Do we want to consider the payment for this difference in days as through the salary sheet or through payment now? Or do you just want to update the ledger, like with no amount deducted, just updating as a report? Or do you want to consider this as leave without pay? Let's say as salary sheet. And let's say the days here are 19 days because there are 19 different days, and it will automatically calculate the 2 dates. So from 2 is automatically calculated, and it automatically calculates that the pay days is 19 and the leave salary is the following. Okay, let's see another scenario where we choose the payment as pay now. Notice here that when pay now, everything stays the same, but now the payment mode is not through the salary sheet, it's rather the payment now. What if we consider updating through ledger? Now updating the ledger displays the following: 0 pay days and 0 leave salary. Why is that? Mainly because it's not deducting anything. It's just updating a report. As we have said earlier, it only updates the days. It updates the number of days as just as an information, as a piece of information, without actually deducting or payment of anything. So there's that. And the leave, we cannot change the payment type to leave without pay. So it gives us a clear message that the payment should be either through the salary sheet, pay now, update ledger, since the leave type here is annual leave. So we have to choose any of the 3 payment modes, this or that. So this is the case here when returning later than expected or when returning earlier than expected. Let's see here the settings of the HRMS settings. Let me show you that selecting this company in the company setup. Let's go to the leave policy. Notice here that if an employee returned earlier from annual leave, then the default option is creating a loan, which is the one we have saw just now, because creating a loan is set as the default option. We can also change this to refund cash as receipt voucher. What does this mean? Basically, refunding the cash as receipt voucher enables the user the HR user or the admin enables that person to select the option of refunding cash to the employee who has returned earlier than expected. We can also create a loan. We can accept it without any adjustments. So basically, nothing will happen. Like if you return early or on the due date, it's both the same thing, considered the same thing. So this is without any adjustments. And we can also return the balance itself, the balance of days regarding the employee's leave, the annual leave. So basically, if he or she, the employee, has 3 days left or 10 days left untaken, those days will return back to his or her balance. So she or he might use it later on when needed or required. Notice here that we have all these kind of scenarios and options as a checklist. Basically, we have made this and implemented this as a checklist format for enabling like ease of use, you know, like it makes it so much easier for the user to select as yes or no. Basically here we can select yes or no for the Encash leave. Regarding annual leave, of course, we can select whether creating any type of additional leave until employee returns back from previous leave is possible or not. We can also choose whether the same type of leave is possible or not, like in the created status, of course, not the approved status. So when a person, like an employee, takes a leave and has it created, is it possible to create that same exact type of leave on a different date and they're both just created? Is it possible or not? Depends on the company's policies. We can also select whether allowing or not allowing the returning earlier for timesheet employee, returning back regarding the annual leave. If an employee returned earlier, what will happen, as we have said. And we can also select here as allow to change. This makes it even further flexible to use the system regarding the return, because it allows the user to select the specific suitable action at the exact same moment. So instead of, like, for example, selecting a fixed default option for that, you can have it set as flexible, where you can freely change that later on. We can allow to return back from unpaid leaves, or not allow to return back from all other types of leave. We can also allow or not allow payment if employee did not return back from training. All these kind of different scenarios, but what matters right now in this specific topic for today is this option. Is returning earlier has the following options that has to be selected and can be selected later at the time of returning from leave. Notice here we also have the allow negative leave days, and we can set this as 0 or more. This is pretty useful, especially for, like, mainly for the admin user, because sometimes, for example, an employee might have 5 days in their balance, and they urgently need more, like 6 days or 7 days, or like for any specific reason. So the admin in this case is capable of giving a specific number of extra days for the employee, like for any specific urgent case. He or she can simply take it and be capable of using those extra days selected by the admin. So here we select the maximum days that is allowed for the admin as negative days regarding the employee who will later take the balance, use their balance, or extra than their balance. So this is the topic for today. We have covered the settings regarding the leave policy, and we have seen how it affects the returning from leave. Afterwards, after returning from leave and making sure that it applies exactly as per company policies, we can have HRMS reports regarding everything, regarding the leaves and all the types of transactions in the HRMS module and further modules of Hinawi software. Thank you.